let's go ahead and welcome everybody in. There's the bottles of champagne on the table, and we are ready to have our... And welcome to the Cover 3 September Superlatives. We, of course, are handing out many awards here this evening. The Player of the Month, the Coach of the Month, the Team of the Month, the Game of the Month, and the Fornellis for the month of September. 5 weeks this year in the month of September. So let's begin our conversation with the Player of the Month. Bud, what's your nominee for Player of the Month?
I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels. LSU leads the country in EPA in non-blowout situations. I think he's been really pretty good. LSU's defense has given him almost no help. He's the only guy with 2 losses who has any shot at the Heisman at this point. And I think we should recognize a really good month by him.
He's he's doing a good job. He's one of the 5 to 10 best passers in almost all individual passing statistics in the entire country. That passing attack with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas is absolutely phenomenal. Offense did enough to win on Saturday. So ain't Jaden Daniels' fault that they lost to Ole Miss. That's for sure.
He's just looked better throwing the ball. Than I thought he would. I was kind of a doubter of his. I really never been all that impressed with how he throws it. And he's looked better this month than he ever has to me.
All right, Tom, what's your nominee?
Oh, I've got 4, but I don't know the neutral state EPA for any of these guys, but I figure they've got to be pretty good. And my primary nominee is the man driving the wagon, Michael Penix. I don't really think I need to go into too great of detail here. He's just throwing a whole lot of balls down the field, throwing for a lot of yards, throwing for a lot of touchdowns, and killing defenses.
Who else did you? All right, so I've got Caleb Williams.
He was on my list, yes.
Yeah, what has Caleb Williams done to change your perception of him other than the most outstanding player in college football? I mean, you got
nothing.
What? Yeah, I can think off the top of my head of 1 or 2. Oh, Caleb, you shouldn't have done that, baby. But who doesn't have that through 5 games of the season, especially at the quarterback position? So I'm kind of in the position where Caleb has somehow been able to raise his own bar. And when the expectation was that high, it's been outstanding. I've got Caleb Williams as my player of the month.
But I think the you shouldn't do that is kind of baked into Caleb's game. I don't think Caleb can be Caleb without the you shouldn't do that, because you shouldn't do that, but he can do it. And I think that's what separates him from everybody else. He does stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and he does it effectively.
Do you know who else shouldn't do that? Is Pat Mahomes, and does it.
Exactly.
Right. I talked to Richard Johnson of Sports Illustrated yesterday. He called me, and we were talking. He's like, dude, do you think that Colorado, because a lot of people are saying Colorado mismanaged the end of game situation there, right? With how long they took on that final drive. I know Deion took a question about it yesterday, and he's like, do you think that maybe they were playing just for the onside kick so that Caleb would not get the ball back? Like they were trying to score, don't even want to have the decision of do we kick it off and try to get a stop to get the ball back? Like just score, take a lot longer time when you're down 14. And onside kick it so that he never gets the ball back. I was like, that sounds crazy to me and probably not optimal, but it's not totally out of realm possibility. And if so, that's a major credit to Caleb Williams and just how damn good he is.
Speaking of Colorado, I've got all of Danny's nominations here. Danny currently in transit right now to go be a part of some of the CBS Sports Network coverage of the midweek college football. I believe you can catch him on Thursdays, college football desk. He's got Shedeur Sanders as his player of the month. And I mean, Shedeur, talk about somebody else that's just checked boxes and then even exceeded expectations. He loses Travis Hunter and still is able to go out there against, not successful as much against Oregon as he was against USC, but still a strong performance for him right there. His honorable mention included Michael Penix, Tom's recommendation, Caleb Williams, my recommendation, Jonathan Brooks. With a note from Danny, all the focus on Quinn Ewers has taken the focus off Brooks, who is top 3 in the country in rushing. And then he's also got Cam Ward as somebody to keep an eye on. So We got to make some tough decisions here. Only one player can be the Cover 3 podcast player of the month for the month of September.
I want to give special shout outs to Audric Estime and Luther Burden, who are both on my candidates list. But my vote, I mean, it's Michael Penix. I think you're all very wrong if you don't think it's Michael Penix.
Are we gonna have a? I love this comment here. Ryan in the chat says Estime would win the Heisman in 1990.
He would, yes.
Yeah, he is doing all of being a Notre Dame running back and running as well as he has through this season so far. He is a prime 1990 Heisman Trophy winner. And
a one-loss Notre Dame right now, the last second loss to Ohio State in 1990 would probably still be ranked number 1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. when we were just deciding the national championship by the polls, that Notre Dame team still definitely got enough.
They showed a lot of fight in that loss. I'm going to put them at number 1.
All right, bud, we gotta make some decisions. You came out here with Jane Daniels. I'm not hearing a lot of support for Jane Daniels.
Yeah, there's not a lot of support in the chat because his team lost 2 games. Shador's team also lost 2 games. You want to give it to Penix? Like, he's been basically perfect.
Well, okay, so it's Penix or Caleb, I think. And you've got.
I think Caleb's got a shot to win it next month, though. As well,
as the competition picks up, the fact
they've both been really, really good.
Yeah. So, Penix.
Right.
I'm down with it. Yeah.
Congratulations. Michael Penix, you are the Cover 3 podcast player of the month for the month of September. All right. Coach of the month. I mean.
Oh, easy.
Right.
For me. Do we all have the same one?
Do you believe?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, does anybody have a nominee other than that? Oh, wait, hold on just a second. Let me open up this envelope.
Oh no, come on.
I have
Danny Cannell, Coach of the Month, top nominee, Jake Dickert.
That was the other. Yeah, I had 4. Deion, Mike Norvell, Jake Dickert, Steve Sarkisian.
Oh, Sark's a good one. I didn't have that on my board, but that's a smart one right there.
I had 4 that weren't Deion because I knew Deion was going to win. I got Sark, Venables, Brom, and Elko.
Do you think that if we coached Oklahoma, Oklahoma's record would be any different than it is right now?
No, but I think that after a very rough first season, they've come out and they've been doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing and just absolutely blowing the doors off people for the most part. I mean, they've struggled a couple times on the road, but they've won. They've had adversity. They've overcome it. And last year, this was a team that I feel like kind of made mistakes in those moments. And the coaching, I don't know, newness, I guess, inexperience being a head coach kind of showed at times. I don't think it's showing this year. I think that they're doing a much better job.
Elko probably also belongs on the list.
Yeah. Definitely for the list of consideration. What about Neil Brown? Listen, you don't not get credit for being able to take that team and being able to uniquely motivate them to get off to a 4-1 start, right?
Agreed.
Like I didn't know until maybe a couple weeks ago that their breakdown is that they break down on 14. Y'all heard this? As in the position they were picked in the Big 12 in the preseason poll.
I love that.
Like they were picked dead last, and he's used that. And like they break down on 14 because they were picked 14th out of 14 teams.
Chat has Kurt Signetti at JMU. Definitely good option. I mean, I think they're the only team in the country that's played back-to-back road games, and they ended up was it Utah State, Troy, UVA, and won them all. That's certainly a good one. I'm sure there's more. Oh, honestly, Whittingham, for how bad that quarterback situation is, for them to only have 1 loss right now is kind of impressive.
But the winner, I mean,
do you believe that?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean, if you get up in First Take talking about you, like, and what I think of the roster. Like, I'm definitely voting for Deion in the first month.
Deion doesn't even play for the Cowboys or the Lakers, and they're talking about him on First Take. It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
So congratulations, a hearty congratulations to the Cover 3 podcast Coach of the Month, Deion Sanders of Colorado.
We continue to hate Colorado.
Yeah, that's just a reminder. That is Deion Sanders, the Cover 3 Podcast Coach of the Month. The Cover 3 Podcast Coach of the Month, Deion Sanders of Colorado.
Mhm.
Coming up on the other side, we're not just talking players. We're not just talking coaches. What about the team? Who is the team of the month for September? And our favorite games, the Fernellis, and more. Next.
Over a decade of her reign concludes to an icon on and off the field. We thank you, Megan.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, we continue to roll on with our September superlatives with the team of the month. Tom, what's your nomination for team of the month?
Duh. You can't spell Washington without wagon. Washington, to me, through the first month of the season, when you take out the strength schedule and you just look at how a team is playing, no team has been more impressive to me than the Washington Huskies. I'd say Michigan, who is another candidate of mine, is a close second. And then I also, in my other nominee, Texas. I just think looking at this month, those were the three teams that had the big wins and have played the most impressive. And I'm sure you guys have some other nominees, but that's where I'm going.
This is one where I didn't have any of those on my list.
What?
Mhm.
I mean, like Texas has played like they played Bama, and Bama's look like a mess, and they beat them. They deserve credit, but like a bunch of nobodies. I went with teams that had like at least two good wins.
Okay.
Florida State and Washington State. Like to me, that's fairly impressive stuff so far. You know, Florida State goes into Death Valley, first team to beat them by more than a point in a decade. They also blew out LSU. So like LSU has two losses now. They don't have two blowout losses. Right.
You
And,
keep
like,
calling that a blowout loss, and that's fine, but they were trailing
it's
at half.
45-17, and they put a bunch of freshmen in there, and Daniels throws an 84-yarder with like 2 minutes left.
But they were trailing at halftime. I mean, it wasn't a
Sure.
wire-to-wire work them, you know?
No, but if you're up 28 on LSU and you yank the starters garbage time, like that's pretty blowout-y.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If they played 10 times, that was the outcome that is the most heavily slanted towards Florida State.
Yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah, like obviously we wouldn't favor them. You know, I would not favor them by 28 over LSU. If they played the game again, I think you have to make FSU the favorite, though. Like I bet them. I thought they were a better team, but you know they were an underdog in the game.
All right, I've got Texas. What is it? What was the meme, Tom? The Simpsons meme?
It's a competition for third graders. Yeah, and Homer's beating their brains out.
Yeah, like I think that Texas has done everything, you know, that you have wanted from a team that's supposed to be a national championship contender. Like they have been really thorough in dispatching their first two conference opponents. And yeah, backup quarterback, sure, but how have they looked? Like they are getting out there and absolutely dominating teams. You throw in the Alabama win, which Alabama might be a mess from Alabama standards, but that is still a ridiculous game to go in and win on their turf against a defense that right now I think is one of the best in the entire country in the Crimson Tide. So Texas is my team. Obviously, Washington deserves some credit here. Colorado as well. How about Oregon? That's a team that has changed my like. I've got Oregon.
Who's Oregon played? Have they played any team in the top half of the country?
My concern with
Nobody's
Oregon was
played
that
anybody.
I
No,
thought
but there are teams that have played people like that actually won hard games early in the season.
But I thought Oregon was going to look like USC, and Oregon doesn't look like USC because Oregon's the one team. And when we were power ranking the Pac-12 teams, they actually look like they have a defense with some structure that's not going to be totally leaky and picked apart. My expectation was that the Ducks would be a little bit closer to USC and maybe Washington. I don't know, maybe a little TBD on the Huskies defensive side of the ball. They look the most well-rounded in the Pac-12. I think that they have been, very impressive along those same lines of, all right, who have you played, but how have you looked along the way?
Also, they might have an NFL wide receiver for like the first time in a decade.
Yeah. Like, you're talking about Franklin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that he has lived up to expectations as well. So yeah, like I've got Washington, I've got Florida State, we got Colorado, but I had Texas as my vote.
I hate Florida State, so anybody with Florida State's good with me.
Who does Danny have?
Texas.
Oh, it's 3 of us with Texas.
I mean, I guess my vote doesn't matter.
All right. Hey, it's just
You're
like
a
living
Republican in Illinois.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. So it's like living like a Republican in Illinois or a Democrat in Florida. There you go. Right. And now congratulations to Steve Sarkeesian, Quinn Ewers, Jonathan Brooks, and the Texas Longhorns. You are the Cover 3 Podcast Team of the Month for the month of. What was that?
What was that?
All right, there you go. And now we turn to the game of the month. Got some pretty good ones here. Danny's got an off the wall honorable mention. It's not his winner, but Tom, why don't you take the lead? Or Bud, why don't you take the lead here? What's your game of the month?
My game of the month is from week 2. I'm going to go Kansas State at Missouri. Explosive plays, awesome defense at times, back and forth the entire day. Like you got to see really good playmakers, good quarterback play, dramatic ending with the thicker kicker hitting a 61-yarder after a penalty to end it. It's the most fun game I've watched the entire year. I think that's the game of the month.
It was on my list. It is one of 8 games I nominated. The one I have on top, though, Colorado 45, TCU 42. It's the game that kind of started the entire storm because the expectations for Colorado coming in, the preseason win total is 3.5. They come out, and yeah, TCU has proven to be that it's not the same team that reached the title game last year. But for Colorado to come out in that game, have that kind of performance, and get the win, considering what we all expected from it before the season began, I think was the biggest game of the month. And it was a fun, entertaining game in that it was high scoring and close.
That is also Danny's recommendation, and he also included in there not only the Colorado coming out party, but that Travis Hunter's individual performance in that game, playing on both sides, the ridiculous awareness and closing speed on the interception in the end zone. You know, everything about that all along the way was definitely a reason to have it. Colorado TCU is also his nomination. The nomination I turned into Jordan is Kansas State, Missouri.
Uh-oh.
When you're 5'11", 243 pounds from Warsaw, Indiana, you got a lot of momentum when you rear that leg back and you swing it on forward. Did he get a little bit of a nice breeze right there in Columbia? Yeah, probably. 61 yards to win, as Bud mentioned, at the end of a very, very, well-played game between two teams that I still have a lot of respect for. As we go in and, break down all the games that have followed, I still look at these as two, very strong teams so far through this part of the season. So we got a 2-2 tie. All right, here's some other honorable mentions. I mentioned DK threw me off with this one. He threw Baylor UCF on there.
So did I. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's give some love to the insane comeback. But, I think that overall it's going to be difficult to vote for that one over others. What else was on your list, Tom?
I had Texas 34, Alabama 24. Yeah. I thought just stakes and the upset of Alabama losing at home. I had another Colorado game. Colorado 43, Colorado State 35. Everybody in the world was up until 1 a.m. watching that one. Florida State 31, Clemson 24. That was a really fun, entertaining game. Ohio State 17, Notre Dame 14. Not the most electric as far as offense was concerned, but a close game that came down to the final moments. Notre Dame 21, Duke 14. Another similar game to the Ohio State Notre Dame game. And then there was the Baylor 36, UCF 35. Those were the 8 games that I considered, but I still think Colorado TCU is the number 1 game.
No, I'm nuking Notre Dame Duke. You cannot have Riley Leonard's whole October torched on one play and then say that was one of the games of the month. That was heartbreaking.
I mean, it's only a high ankle sprain. He's not going to die. He'll be fine.
But did you die?
Yeah.
I do think there is an aspect here where it's like, was the ending great or like was the whole game great? The reason why I went with Kansas State, Missouri is like that thing was really, really well played from the jump. Like it was exciting plays the entire time. And there was some defense. Like if we're going to go shootout, Ole Miss LSU, right? I like Kansas State, Missouri was a good mix of like shooty, but like you did have some really good defensive plays too. I don't know. Like that's the best game I've watched so far this year.
I would say that the ending also is there for Ohio State, Notre Dame, where ending was amazing. I'm not sure the entire game I was in.
Oh, it was boring. We can say it. Like it was exciting. Like in terms of like the drop, like it was competitive, but it wasn't really like an enjoyable watch necessarily. Like, unless you guys like watching, 10-10.
Sometimes I do, but that's the thing is like there
Tom's
are
like, yes, sir.
Well, like there are
Give me
some
that.
13-10s that are different than the others, right?
That's fair.
And so I mentioned this to Jordan before we got started, but like that was a game where you came out of Ohio State, Notre Dame, and even though both teams are still top teams in the country, you kind of downgraded both of them.
Also, as ERO points out in the chat, there were a lot of fourth down stops in that Notre Dame Ohio State game. So it was teams that wasn't necessarily that the offenses stunk. It was that the defenses came through in key moments.
That's a good point. Very good point. All right, so we've got 2 for Colorado TCU, 2 for Kansas State Missouri. Should we turn the tiebreaker over to Jordan or the chat?
I say the chat. I don't care what Jordan thinks.
Chat. Okay, so those are your options: Kansas State Missouri or Colorado TCU. Chat, be sure to let us know what you got. Danny also threw the Colorado State Colorado as an extra one. He also had Kansas State Missouri there. His notes were a really fun, clean game, and the winner by the thicker kicker. He said close to being my number 1. I'm seeing.
Listen, if K-State Mizzou wins, I won't be upset about it.
Wait, what you think?
I think it's. I mean, we're seeing so far.
I'm seeing a lot of Kansas State, Missouri.
Yeah.
We're going to call it.
See, Cover 3 likes Colorado. The chat hates Colorado.
Yeah, don't forget. That's always the chat there. So congratulations to the Alpha Nerd, Eli Drinkwitz, to Harrison Mavis, the thicker kicker. It is Missouri, Kansas State. It's your Cover 3 podcast game of the month for the month of September.
Still the best ad read we've ever done.
Yeah, and y'all actually got that one done beforehand, because I remember in like the very first like segment, it was like, and if the ad read we just did is any sign, we're off the rails, baby.
That was
game of the month, team of the month. Sorry, so to review our player of the month for the month of September. Congratulations to Washington quarterback Michael Penix, our coach of the month for the month of September. That is Deion Sanders from Colorado. Our team of the month for the month of September is the Texas Longhorns. And the game of the month, Missouri over Kansas State. Congratulations once again to those award winners. And now it is time to turn it over to Tom Fernelli for the Fernellis.
All right, so we've got some big game breakdowns to get to, so I'm going to get through these as quickly as possible. We're going to start with the Whoopsie Daisy King of the Month award. Goes to none other than our beloved Anthony Calandria, who was just an electric factory all month long. Whether he was actually making plays, trying to make plays, or making terrible plays, it was never boring watching that kid play. Please put him back in as the starter. Virginia, give us something. Give us a reason to watch you. Nobody wants to watch Tony Muskett throw for 6 yards an attempt as you lose 17-14. The next one is the Thirsty Coach of the Month. Mel Tucker wins the Thirsty Coach of the Month award for I think we all know why. And that leads to our next award, which is the BS Message Board Rumor of the Month. Urban Meyer to Michigan State. Yes, that's right, folks. The school with the Larry Nassar scandal and who just had to fire its coach for, once again, being Mel Tucker, is going to hire Urban 2 knuckles deep Meyer to replace him and run that athletic department. Really good. That's a great rumor. Keep floating it. Get the people listening to your radio shows and reading your columns. The crispiest secondary of the month award goes to LSU. You know, we have spent a lot of time on this show talking about how the SEC doesn't have any good quarterbacks. LSU is doing its damnedest to make the SEC quarterbacks look better by letting everybody throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns against it. We appreciate your contributions, Tigers. Let's see what's next. Oh, the Player Hater of the Month award, Lou Holtz. I love it. I mean, it's keep going. It's really, really working. The fact that he is still going on shows and just trashing Ohio State. He moved him down in his Super 16 ballot, even though they didn't play. He moved him down like 5 or 6 spots. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I love it. It's stupid fun, which is what this sport is supposed to be, even if Ryan Day doesn't think it's very fun. And then finally, the Golfing Cover 3 co-host of the month award goes to me. I broke 90 yesterday, bitches.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Blacked
out on the back 9.
Blacked out on the back 9. I have no idea what happened.
Somebody from the chat tipped me to where Holtz hangs. And so I kind of want to see if we can get Lou on the show and just like let the chopper spray and just get all the takes.
Wait,
nonstop.
near you?
Yeah, he lives in Orlando. So
okay, so here's the deal. It may obviously journalistic practices, you got to let him know, but like don't even give him a chance to like move from his position, like sitting there at the Applebee's with his glass of white wine. Like just turn the phone up, you know, and let's just get him on camera and just going one after the other. Maybe we'll just cut him up and do like a take a show, just make it a new regular bit.
Look, he's not camera shy. I mean, like he's on every single political network out there of a certain vein. And like I bet you he just let these takes rip. Like if we want to hit our vertical video goal for the month, just constant Lou Holtz takes is potentially the way to go.
These are all very, very good ideas. And Tom, that might have been the best edition of the Fernellis in the multiple years that we have been unveiling these awards at the end.
Probably the most NSFW version that we've done. But I mean, I work with the material given to me by the college football world.
Just listen, we are just reflecting what we see in the college football world.